Hello and welcome to Kinsei-Do Corner. Have you ever wondered how to unlock your full potential and live your healthiest, most fulfilling life? Then this podcast is here to help you achieve just that. We dive deep into the world of health and performance, exploring how to move better, feel better, and live a healthier, more fulfilling life. I chat with inspiring coaches, athletes, health experts, and high performers from all walks of life to learn from their stories, mindsets, and lifestyle choices. Whether you're an experienced high performer or new to the world of health and well-being, I'm in your corner to guide you on the path to being the healthiest, happiest, and highest performing version of yourself. Let's go. Hello everyone and welcome back to Kinsei-Do Corner podcast. It's been a while that we've been away, kind of as it always happens every summer. There's a bit of a 2 to sometimes 3 month break and it just kind of grows longer. But I'm really excited to be back on the show today. And when I introduce my guest in a second, you'll know why. Most of you listeners will probably know that for the majority of all the episodes that I've done on this show, the people that have been on, the guests, were either my friends or my acquaintances or coaches that I've had the pleasure of working with. But ever so often, once in a while, I get reached out to out of the blue, and this happened today, or this happened last week. And here I am now with DK Kang from all the way from the US, and he will share some inspiring story, and we will talk about nutrition, and we'll talk about the healing power of nutrition, which is something I obviously strongly believe in my Kinsei-Do coaching philosophy. So I'm really excited to welcome DK on the show and get to know him a bit better and listen to what he's got to say and share his insights with you. Welcome, DK.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It's a pleasure. And I was, as I kind of alluded to before we started recording, you were on another podcast recently, 6 Weeks to Fitness, where you kind of explained your background story, which is really quite heartwarming, but also heartbreaking in many ways. And I don't want to rehash the entire story. I really recommend my listeners to check out 6 Weeks to Fitness to hear your full story. But maybe if you can just kind of give us a short background as to what led you to, and we're going to talk about nutrition. So what led you to this point where you have found nutrition as kind of the health giving, almost the medicine to that helped you and your family, I might say, you and your wife, overcome so many health issues and setbacks and lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, so backstory about my life. I grew up Korean American. So I grew up in a small town in Missouri. My parents owned a restaurant, and I ate a lot of traditional Korean food, which is a lot of just fermented vegetables and just vegetables in general. And so at the time, my parents always said, eat your vegetables. And for me, I grew up doing martial arts at the age of 5. So training, fitness has been a part of my entire life. And so, my parents are just always like, eat your vegetables. I didn't know, but when you're training for, a long time, you pretty much eat anything that's laid out in front of you because you're just hungry, So, but flash forward, I got married. My wife started having some health issues. Just quick recap, infertility, and just a lot of health issues. You can go watch 6 Weeks to Fitness. I really dive deep into that. And then in 2020, at the end of 2020, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And then 2024, she's about to start treatments. And then I'm reading this book called The Breast Cancer Husband. And it talks about, just let your employer know what's going on. And I asked for flexible hours. They said, yeah, that's fine. But then a week later, I got laid off. And so, we're diving deep into like researching cancer. Like what foods do we need to eat to, combat all the inflammation, like just the cancer. And so we came upon this book called Chris Beat Cancer, great book. And he talks a lot about the nutrition. And so, he talks about a plant-based diet and then there was a small section in there that he talked about kimchi. Growing up as a Korean American and my parents owning a restaurant, my parents always had kimchi. And so I ate kimchi like literally every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I just like kimchi. But then as I'm reading this book, Chris Beat Cancer, he talks a little bit about the gut health or the gut brain health and how it's linked to our immune system and like 70% of our gut is in our, or 70% of our immune system is in our gut. And so I'm like, all right, well, we need to start eating more kimchi. On top of that, with a plant-based diet. And so it kind of came about of like, all right, what? And so when I moved away from my parents lived in Missouri, United States, and then I moved to Texas in the United States. So it's about a 8-9 hour drive. So I was missing kimchi, like, because I would buy it at the store and it just it didn't taste good because it was in plastic containers. And then if you know anything about plastics, there's microplastics. We start ingesting the microplastics. They get in our bloodstream and your immune system just goes haywire. So, I learned how to make kimchi from my parents or my mom. And so I'm like, all right, I just want to make my own because I know what's going to go exactly in the kimchi. And so I just started making my own. And then I just started bringing it to work. And then, my coworkers would be like, hey, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's a traditional fermented cabbage or whatever vegetable you want to use. And so I would give them some, and they're like, oh, this is really good. And they're like, can I buy some kimchi from you? And I'm like, I'm not really selling it, but sure. I don't know how much to charge. I just like, $10 for like a jar or something like that. And so I was like, but then as I was doing that one coworker told another person, and then this random person, like that was like in another department, came up to me and said, hey, I heard that you sell kimchi. And I'm like, kind of, but not really. And so word kind of spread. And then it got to the point where like I was getting so many people asking me about kimchi. They're like, what do I do with kimchi? Like, how do I use it? And so I came up with a cookbook that integrates kimchi into different dishes. Like if it's, whatever culture you're in, like I had like Indian people come up to me, I had Mexicans come up to me, and just your regular American people. And I'm like, because I got the same question, like, what do I do with this? And so I was like, well, just start incorporating it into different dishes. And, I don't talk about like the gut health benefits, but as I was doing more research on it, like there's like literally 100 to 200 billion probiotic strands in kimchi. And if you look at yogurt, I don't know if you guys have yogurt in Indonesia.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's not as easy to get as it would be in the West, but we do.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So yogurt has about 3 billion to 10 billion. So if you look at kimchi, it's literally like 10 times that. So because it's like minimum of 100 billion probiotic strands. And depending on how long it's been fermenting, it can go up to like 250 billion. And so kind of going back to my wife's cancer, I was like, yeah, we need to start like eating more kimchi. Like, and for me, I love kimchi. So, like, why not incorporate it? Because there's so many benefits to kimchi with reducing inflammation. Inflammation is a big marker for any type of illnesses, diseases. Inflammation just wreaks havoc in so many ways. And so I'm like, all right, let's reduce inflammation and let's really dive deep into it. And so that's kind of how it kind of came about with kimchi.
Yeah, that's so cool. And is your wife Korean as well?
No, my wife is actually Filipino.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did she, I assume she didn't grow up eating kimchi. How did she kind of take it? Because it is, I eat it. I like it with certain dishes, but for example, I couldn't necessarily imagine mixing it with a Western dish or with something. It goes with the Korean food for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I couldn't. So I don't know how did someone who didn't grow up on it, how did she adjust to it?
For her, as we were dating, it took her a while because she wanted to really immerse into my culture. Because my parents, till this day, still don't speak English, so they speak Korean. And with them owning a restaurant, like their kind of like language is like food. You say, "Oh, I don't want to eat that." That's like rude and very disrespectful to them. At the time when we were dating, my wife is like, I'm just going to try any and all kind of Korean foods to kind of adapt to like the culture and the food. Because at first she was like, it's way too spicy. Like I just can't eat it. Because a Filipino diet there isn't very many spicy foods. There's like maybe one island out of like, I don't know, 9,000 islands that they like spicy foods. But most generally, like, the Filipino food doesn't really like spicy foods. Okay. So it was an adjustment for her.
Okay. But by now she's fine to eat it with all the Western dishes and all the variety of
Yeah.
whatever we make.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We don't really eat a whole lot of Western dishes. I mean, a lot of our food is a lot of Asian, but we're kind of eating, yeah, we just completely transitioned to a plant base. So, that's like whole foods.
Yeah, okay. And hence the name of your book, obviously, the Kimchi Connection, which is it's just awesome to have kind of knuckle down on that and really make that the core of it. But when you say you eat kimchi with everything, surely you're not eating kimchi by itself, or are you?
Sometimes we kind of did that like as a snack, but
Okay.
a lot of times we would just kind of incorporate it into like salads or sometimes even like a topping. Like, like a lot of Western people, they like burgers and pizza and things like that. So, I would tell them like, hey, just make your pizza or whatever, or get your pizza and then just chop up your kimchi really, really like fine and then just kind of sprinkle it on top, kind of spread it out onto the pizza. Or take a little bit and then like a little small bowl and then put it in with your burger and just eat it with it. So you're getting those probiotics, you're getting those health benefits. It's not overnight. If you look at kimchi, kimchi isn't made like it's a whole process. You got to chop it, you got to wash it, then you got to put in ingredients and then, you let it set and ferment. It's like not an overnight process. And I look at that as like, it's the same with life. Like, when we're doing a workout or, we're trying to change one small habit, it just like doesn't happen overnight. Like, if you're training, like, so for me, I do a lot of Spartan races. Do you know what a Spartan race is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
familiar.
Yeah. And I know you do a lot of CrossFit things, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So a lot of functional movement. Yeah. So, like training for a Spartan race. Like, so I recently did a Spartan Ultra, which is a 50K with 60 obstacles, right? Yeah. So it's like, wow. It's like, okay, you did that. It's like, but I didn't start there. Like I started with a 5K. Well, technically I started with the 21K, but with 25 obstacles. That was my very first one. But, when you're starting those small habits, you start small. You start with that K, then to 10K, 20K. And if you look at kimchi, it's kind of the same. Like when it's fermenting, it's literally like it's breaking down the cabbage, it's breaking down the sugars, it's breaking down. And same thing with working out. You're breaking down your muscles. But what happens in that transformation is you get stronger. You're lifting weights or you're doing pull-ups or you're doing, squats. You're literally breaking down the muscles, but you're at the end of, I don't know, 6 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. And then you're like, oh wow, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, I'm building some muscle. It's the same with kimchi as it's breaking down. Bless you.
Thank you.
As it's breaking down, it becomes something that's like really spicy and it starts producing this good bacteria. And that good bacteria translates into, when we eat it, into our gut. And that gut has that, like, the gut brain connection. So when that happens, when you're eating something good, it affects your brain. And as your brain is affected, your brain wants to, it's like the same with like, as you move, you have like this mental clarity. And that's the same with like how what we eat is the same as how it's going to clear our minds because of that gut brain connection. And so I kind of look at it as a very, like, it's a parallel to life. How the process of kimchi is a process of like working out. When you put food and fitness together, like you just feel so good. And going back to, like my parents owned a restaurant when I was growing up, right? They still had it until about 2023. And so when your parents own a restaurant, you can have all this soda.
Right.
And soda is so much sugar, it's just bad for you, right? So at the age of 12, I completely just cut off the soda. But at that time, like, I didn't know this at the time. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to cut it out cold turkey, because I was drinking a lot of soda. And I'm just thinking, I wonder what effects it's going to do on my fitness level. And as soon as I cut it off, like literally a couple days, I was starting to have headaches or whatever, but I was drinking more water. And then about a week later, I felt really good. Like just I didn't feel sluggish. I didn't feel like slowed down. I didn't feel heavy. Like, when you're doing martial arts and you're sparring, there's a lot going on. You got to move. You either kick or punch, or you dodge, or you move away. And so I literally felt so much better on the inside, but that translated to my fitness level as well. And if you look at kimchi, it will do the same as well, because it does the same for your brain. So
yeah, that's super interesting. And I mean, obviously the kimchi connection, and obviously your upbringing, eating a lot of kimchi in just as a part of your culture and your tradition. But then, so that means you kind of intuitively knew the benefits. But then earlier you said when your wife had these health issues, that's when you started really looking into it. And what have you found in your research that kind of backs up what you felt, right? Why is it that fermented foods, or I'm assuming it's all fermented foods. I mean, kimchi, as you said, just has so many more bacteria, but it's yogurt, it's being a half German, it's sauerkraut, it's all these things that are probably having similar effects. It's not specific to kimchi because of the type of cabbage they use or something, right? It's the fermentation process. So what do you think, or what did you find in your research that kind of backs that up? Why is that really so powerful in making you feel and perform, and your body lets your body heal and all these things?
Well, just like sauerkraut, sauerkraut is a fermented food. I mean, sauerkraut's good, but it's because a lot of people have a leaky gut. And when you have a leaky gut, things just start going into different areas of your body. Like your body is an ecosystem. It's all connected, from your gut to your bloodstream to, the gut-brain connection. But, honestly, it's those probiotics. So many people are talking about right now, like, take a probiotic pill, but that's like manufactured, and like it's processed. If we just get away from processed foods, that our bodies they're not meant to break these processed stuff down, because it's just so refined. But as you're eating, like, sauerkraut or kimchi, it's a whole food, and there's just ingredients that you can actually say, and your body will actually break those down and absorb all the minerals, all the vitamins that come with the vegetables. And like with kimchi, there's like garlic and salt and pepper, and like those things, like your body just absorbs even better, and it'll kind of help seal that leaky gut because of the probiotics. Like, probiotics are big, and because kimchi has so much probiotics, it literally just helps with just like your entire body and your immune system. So that's kind of the research that I kind of found. And you can Google benefits of kimchi. There's just like a whole list of like benefits. I mean, it can reduce cholesterol just because of all the minerals and the vitamins that comes with it. There's really like a whole list of just benefits of kimchi, and that's just kind of the research that I kind of found. And I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but definitely go do your research. And there's so many other books. Like, you read this book called The Rainbow Diet. So it's a plant-based diet that you set your plate up with different colors of the rainbow to get different minerals, different nutrients, different vitamins. And, you can add kimchi as one of the white or even the red. And so, and then there's like a red cabbage, then you can add some greens. So you're getting a whole spectrum of different colors to add to your gut. And that only helps with, your immune system. That only helps better, sealing that gut and adding those probiotics. So that was kind of the research that I kind of stumbled upon.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that, let's say, cancer rates and even cancer survival rates and all of that in Korea versus the Western world, does that match up? Does that support the theory that kimchi or that fermented foods are superfoods in that sense?
I mean, yes and no. Just with so it's called the standard American diet, which spells sad. And so the Westerners eat a lot of like processed foods, but at the same time, like, not to down on Korean culture or anything like that, Koreans are getting away from traditional foods and eating more of a Western diet because, with internet and YouTube, Western food is just kind of blowing up. But I think a lot of times people just aren't educated in nutrition and food, and just Korea as a country is not really, they're kind of shifting from that traditional foods because they want I don't know, the human body likes sugar. So
Yes.
I was doing some research on sugar. Sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. I don't know if you know the drug cocaine.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I heard that statistic. It's shocking.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And so Korea as a country is going more towards the sugary foods like the Starbucks and things like that. And I think they don't really know. But so with the cancer rate, I mean, as we were doing research in cancer, like the cancer rate is like off the charts nowadays just because of all the processed foods. It's literally 1 in 3 people will get cancer. Like within my own circle, my wife had cancer, my dad had cancer, my aunt had cancer, and then I have a few friends in my circle that I know had cancer as well. So I think for me, the statistic is getting even higher. It's probably 1 in 2 people will get cancer here in the United States, especially. So to kind of go back to your question about, U.S. versus Korea, I've never lived in Korea. I've only visited it, and just based on what they're kind of producing nowadays, is I can see that they're going more towards a Western diet.
Yeah.
So I can't answer that if there's
Yeah.
more cancer rates in Korea than U.S. So yeah.
No, I think part of the reason why I was going there is because I noticed I see the same in Indonesia or in Asia in general. They trend towards the McDonald's, the processed foods. I mean, here in Indonesia, things like instant noodles are really, really big, and that's not
Same here.
Yeah. That's a different kind of fast food, but it's also ultra processed.
Yeah, and there's no nutrients in
devoid
ramen
of anything.
noodles.
Exactly, exactly. And I think if I couldn't name an Indonesian dish that uses fermentation at this moment. I'm sure there must be some, but I just haven't come across it, or it's not very, very common. So I'm just wondering whether there's an alternative, so to say, something that is more accustomed to the local population that their palate would also prefer, but that has maybe similar benefits. But yeah, it's amazing, and I gather from the 6 Weeks to Fitness podcast that your wife has completely recovered. Is that right?
Yes. She's
wonderful.
Completely cancer-free. It was a year-long treatment. I mean, her energy levels, I mean, when you're doing these harsh drugs like chemotherapy, things like that, it really takes a toll on the immune system because, I mean, chemo, it doesn't matter. It kills good, the bad, the ugly, anything and everything, and it just works havoc on your immune system. And so, for me, I would say if you can prevent any type of illness or disease, I'd say start with your food. Because you eat more, you're going to spend more time eating your food than anything else. I mean, besides sleeping, going to work or whatever, but you spend a lot of time eating, and whatever's in your food is going to affect your entire body. And
correct, one way or the other, right? Either
one
good
way or
bad.
the other, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's so true, and it's obviously we've talked now about kimchi, but that's true for everything. And your own experience with cutting out sugar is also you almost don't even have to go for the super foods, as long as you, even just cutting out the really bad ones is already so powerful. Yeah, that's amazing. Where do you see yourself going from here with either your kimchi selling business or your I'm going to say your kimchi crusade in that sense? Where?
Honestly, I don't know. But so yesterday, my wife and I went to this event, and it was like a networking event with just different people. And I came across this lady, and she got into the food industry. She has a product in one of the U.S. stores, and I'm like, how'd you get into that? And she said, well, just go to food trade shows, like fancy food shows, things like that. So I'm like, okay, thinking about it, because I was like, how do I distribute kimchi like to the entire United States or even to the world? Because it's got to be sealed, and then for me, I'm putting in glass jars. I'm like, that's gonna be really expensive to ship out. But so for me, I guess trying to find out what would a distribution center or someone that manufactures it according to how I make it. And I don't know if I want to go that route. I mean, I do have another book out. It's dealing with just your mindset and how to kind of reframe, negative setbacks, or because, for us, when my wife got diagnosed with cancer, I lost my job. And so for my wife and I, faith is a big part of our lives. And so, we could have been like, oh, life sucks. Woe is us. This is the end. We looked at it as like, okay, this is an opportunity to, I don't know, maybe help somebody else, maybe be on a conversation with someone halfway around the world. Like, I would have never thought this, like, to be on a podcast. And so we're just like, all right, God, like, we don't know what this is going to bring about, but we're hoping that it can be something fruitful and that it can impact someone that is dealing with cancer and a job loss. And like, okay, so what is the next step? And, so there's this, I don't know if you're faith-based, but there's a scripture in the Bible. It's like 1 Corinthians. It says, our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. So what does that mean? Like, what we feed our body and how we use our body. Because in this life, we only have one body, one mind. How are we feeling our body? Are we seeing it as a temple? And with fitness, like with food and fitness, like those two can just prevent so many diseases and illnesses that we could use our bodies as temples and to honor our bodies. Because like, especially here in the United States with a sad diet, like obesity is like off the charts. And obesity connects to inflammation, and that connects to disease, illnesses, and if we could prevent that, the world would be so much better. Because if you think about it, let's just say you do an organic diet, like plant-based, and people say, oh, organic is expensive, things like that. But like, check this out. When I got laid off, my wife was doing a chemo treatment. I think it was like March 1st was her first treatment. And at this point, we didn't have insurance. And so I'm like calling around trying to get, medical insurance. And then we get a bill later. It's like a week later for one chemo treatment was $80,000. Like, unbelievable. I'm like, how do people afford this? But luckily my insurance kicked in on March 1st. And then, we had the insurance and the medical. We're like, hey, it went right here. It says it went March 1st. And so do you want to, like, the question is, like, do you want to pay $80,000 for one chemo treatment? Or do you want to pay $10 for, yes, organic carrots or yes, organic broccoli? Like, pick your choice, yes. And so to kind of go back to your question, where do I see myself? Honestly, I just want to help people, and I just want to spread, like, you can prevent these diseases by the food that you eat. And there's so many documentaries out there about a plant-based diet and about sicknesses and diseases. A good one is, it's called Eating You Alive. And okay, it's the correlation between diet and disease and how we can prevent that. Another one is Live to 100. It's basically like people living in these blue zones and what they're doing to live like cancer-free, disease-free, and they're living to 100 with a mental clarity that they're like 60, and yes, it's amazing. They're like 90, 100 years old, and it's like it's amazing. So for me, I think down the line is I just want to help people and impact the world of like, hey, like, change your diet, get some exercise, get some movement in. If you can't run, if you can't do a 5K, just get up and walk. Like, everybody can walk. I mean, unless you're like, in a wheelchair or something, but, get up and walk. It just does so much for you. And so, it's to kind of go back to your question, that's what I want to do. So I see myself.
Yeah, brilliant. That's wonderful. I mean, you touched on your other book, and I think that would kind of blow the episode if we went there now. But it's clear that without this mindset and this attitude that you have, you wouldn't be where you are now, right? The food, yes, that healed your body physically, but your wife's mind, your mindset was just right to be able to do this journey. So that's so inspiring. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, DK. That was really good. So obviously, I'd like you to kind of give 3 tips to the listeners. Kind of just, I know we've talked about it, and if you've listened to the whole episode, you will know the tips. The first one obviously being eat kimchi, but what are 2 other tips that you'd kind of give away or give my listeners on the way?
Well, I mean, you don't have to eat kimchi, but I mean, I just encourage people to eat kimchi just because, I want to spread my culture as well. But, there's so many benefits to it. I mean, I would say eat fermented foods, like whole food that's fermented. Like, you can do sauerkraut, you can do kimchi. There's kombucha now. People are really getting into. Yeah, just start small. Tip one, eat a fermented food. Tip two, start small. You don't have to go completely 180. I know I'm kind of a weird, I'm either all or nothing kind of type of person. So
Well, your situation didn't leave you much choice, right?
yeah, it was kind of a life or death situation. But yeah, start small. Like, just start, because kimchi is definitely acquired taste. I hear so many people, you either love it or you hate it. And so just start adding a little bit at a time with it. And that could be with anything. That could be with fitness. Start small, just put your shoes on and celebrate those wins. Like, you don't have to completely cut out a Starbucks, but maybe not 7 days a week. Maybe do it 6 days a week. Just start small. Like, all right, I'm not going to have the Starbucks on Saturday or something, or on Sunday, or I'm not going to have McDonald's on, one day of the week, and then just slowly kind of cut back on it. And then I would say tip number 3, really do something challenging. Like, if you look at fitness is challenging. CrossFit is challenging. But there's something that happens when you do something hard, like in your brain. Like, you think like, oh, like, I don't know if I can do that. Oh, that seems really hard. But when you do that challenging, it builds that confidence, like, in your brain. Like, I can't do 10 push-ups, but I can do 1 push-up. Okay. And as you're doing something challenging, it's going to just like your mind or your brain is kind of like it's like a muscle. You have to use it. Same thing with like your entire body. You just really have to like do something that challenges you, because if we're not challenged, we're just stagnant. We're not growing. If we're stagnant, we're not moving. Then we're dying. Like, we as humans, we are made to move and be. Like, we're human beings. Like, go move, and yeah, like, I would say sign up for like CrossFit, or my thing is Spartan races and martial arts. Like, if you look at a Spartan race or a martial arts, they're not easy. If they're easy, everybody would be doing it. But it's a simple process because, well, there's layers to it. There's a 5K, 10K, 21K, 50K. Martial arts, there's ranking systems, but it's not easy, because if it's easy, everybody would be doing it. But I would say just those 3 things, like eat fermented foods, start small, and do something challenging.
Lovely. Thank you. That's wonderful. It's precise, it's clear, and start small, so it's easy to do, hopefully. So just before I let you go, where would people reach out to you or find out more about you, your books, just in case they want to learn more?
Yeah, so both my books are on Amazon. If you go to my website, kkang.com, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, I'm giving a free chapter away of my mindset book. Sign up for it, and you'll just get an email, download it, and if you absolutely love what you're reading, pick up my book, pick up both books. I am kind of on social media, trying to get better at it. Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook is dae.k.kang. That's my Facebook. Instagram is dkkangtkd. And then X is Master Kang DK. I'm trying to be more on social media, but it's a slow process on that. So, but mainly just you could find me on my website.
Wonderful, thank you, DK. Yeah, I will encourage all my listeners to check you out. And Instagram is very big here in Indonesia. So if you do suddenly find getting a DM, then maybe it's from someone who listened to this show. Thank you again for coming on, for sharing your story, and for sharing your tips. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed my chat with DK and can take away some of his advice and his experience with food and nutrition to help get healthier for yourself and your family as well. I realized that while I was speaking to DK, my lack of knowledge about the wide variety of fermented foods was clearly exposed, being able to name only kimchi and sauerkraut and not being able to name any food of the Indonesian cuisine. And so I needed to do a bit of digging afterwards and found out that, of course, there are also fermented foods in the Indonesian cuisine that you guys can try and to implement and incorporate in your diet. The most similar being sayur asin. So if you're listening here from Indonesia and are thinking, okay, I don't want to I don't want to eat kimchi. It doesn't taste nice. It's not my kind of thing. Why not give sayur asin a try, or look for other fermented foods that are more suitable to go with your favorite Indonesian dish. All that said, again, thank you for listening, and I look forward to your comments and feedback in wherever you listen to your podcasts.